Australia summoned on Manus Detention closure date. Aviation Minister targets high airfares. And Repentance Day observed by Bomana inmates.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Saturday's news. The Papua New Guinea government says it will not let Australia withdraw from the Manus Regional Processing Centre, leaving behind unwilling foreign nationals in PNG. Justice and Attorney General Secretary Lawrence Kalinoi made these remarks after the PNG government summoned the Australian High Commission in Port Moresby to establish a clear understanding on the closure of the processing centre.
In a statement released by the Justice and Attorney General Secretary, Mr. Kalino said 17th October 2017, the date selected to close the Regional Processing Centre was not agreed upon by the PNG government. Kalino explained that the PNG government has clearly stated to the Australian High Commission that until the National Executive Council decides its position in the closure agreement, it will ensure the status quo is maintained. On 26 April 2016, a court order was issued by the Supreme Court to close the Regional Processing Centre after it found that the existence of the centre was unconstitutional. Following the court order, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill met with the Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull in August of 2016. Their meeting centred on the time frame both governments needed to make preparations for the centre's closure and the settlement of legitimate refugees in PNG. 12 months on and the deadline ordered by the higher courts is approaching. Meanwhile, Secretary Kalino says a submission will go before the Cabinet, and after that, NEC will consider recommendations for the closure of the processing centre. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Civil Aviation Minister and Member for Kandep, Alfred Manasseh, is keen to reduce the high cost of airfares in the country. Minister Manasseh said despite the focus in building the country's main ports, appropriate support must be given to improving the third-level aviation industry. Mr. Manasseh said the bulk of PNG's population remain in rural areas and must benefit from this service.
Mr. Manasseh made these statements at the end of a ceremony of the Civil Aviation Ministry in Port Moresby recently. In his remarks to stakeholders in the aviation sector, Minister Manasseh wants more efforts put into decreasing the current high cost of fares in the country.
That the cost to the traveling passengers is minimized. Sometimes we are all in a rush to try to make money, to repay loans and try to increase costs.
He says wider consultation is needed between state agencies and private aviation industry players. For Manasseh, he wants better coordination to achieve NAC's corporate plan, which was launched at the same occasion.
The aviation industry and NAC need to consult more so that aviation industry's future plan is known by National Airport Corporation and the government so that it can make plans to accommodate those plans in terms of expansion.
NAC's corporate plan is pretty much to expand on current programs like CADIP to improve airport runways, terminal amenities and elevate current communication facilities.
We can't plan without the infrastructure being put in place. And in this case, NAC, for example, it's difficult from an airline perspective, and I'm sure my friends from Tropic Air and Airlines PNG shares the same thoughts. You can't put in a strategic plan without knowing what the other stakeholders are doing, without knowing what the plans for the airports are.
There has been significant work to improve PNG's transport sector in the past term of government, but the Transport Secretary says funding has been the main challenge.
Financing to develop and improve transport infrastructures from the annual budget appropriations will continue to be a challenge. I therefore have requested our colleagues from the Transport Sector Support Program of the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs to assist my department.
Minister Manus will take office come Monday. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Transport Secretary Roy Mumu wants more case studies to help improve PNG's transport sector. Mr. Mumu said these studies will be used as a platform to find appropriate mechanisms to be used for sea, land and air transport. He says the current transport system has many challenges and the study should help the department alleviate some of these issues.
To draft the PNG transport sector financing study, for which I should be clearing the terms of reference very soon, to be tendered. One outcome of the transport sector financing study is to outline the current and possible funding sources, guided by the National Transport Strategy and other strategic documents of the government.
National and Supreme Court Judge Justice Sir Bernard Sakora has been suspended from duties by the Judicial and Legal Services Commission. A statement released from the Commission stated that Sir Bernard's suspension relates to delayed judgments in cases heard and reserved for decisions. A tribunal has been appointed by the Commission to determine if Sir Bernard should be removed from the office of a judge. Members of the tribunal include resident judges from Goroka, as well as Kavieng and one from New Zealand. The tribunal will commence this coming Tuesday. Sir Bernard has been served his suspension notice, which was effected on August the 15th. To celebrate the National Repentance Day today, inmates at Bomana prison were encouraged to practice forgiveness as part of their journey to becoming changed people. A fellowship was held inside the prison grounds this morning, where spiritual leaders and correctional officers prayed together with the inmates.
At Bomana Prison, it has become a tradition for correctional officers and inmates to fellowship together on selected days of the week. But for today, it was an even bigger celebration. At least 400 inmates, including female prisoners and juveniles, came and worshipped together. The celebrations included songs of praise and worship, sharing of encouraging words by spiritual leaders, and an address by the newly appointed CS Minister, Roy Biama. The celebrations at Bomana ended with prayers of forgiveness, thanksgiving, and blessings. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We continue after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. 3 students from the University of Papua New Guinea have been selected to complete postgraduate studies in India. This follows a memorandum of understanding between the government of PNG and India and to develop a Centre of Excellence in Information Technology at UPNG. The students will undergo a 6-month advanced training in information technology and will return as master trainers to form the IT Centre. They will be studying at the Centre for Development of Advanced Computing in India. Meanwhile, UPNG is awaiting funds to be released from the government to commence construction of its IT Centre. Anilo Kusak had decided to follow in her mother's footsteps long before she got into nursing school. Today, the 23-year-old works at the Malahang Urban Clinic. With maternal and child health close to her heart, she is encouraging other young people to join in this profession. Scott Wider spoke to the inspirational young woman who was taking on a serious challenge.
For 23-year-old Annie, nursing had long been a career of choice. Her mother is also a nurse.
It's not about the money, it's not about the pay packet. It's about the heart and how best you can help.
After completing 4 years at the Lay Secondary School, Annie was accepted into the Lay Nursing College. While college trained her for the job, the real-world challenges were a lot different.
In nursing college, they usually tell us that the ratio of one nurse to a patient is between 20 to 25, given the population, which back then wasn't that much. But with the influx of people coming into the city, we see about 200 to 300 patients a day. So
Annie is small in stature. At times, she has to deal with patients bigger than her.
let's say a 75 kg adult, and he's fitting, and he's probably having cerebral malaria and all that. I'm harder. Like
the emotional aspect of the job is something many outside the medical profession don't really understand. The deaths of young patients have had a significant impact on her life as a nurse.
For every one of us, I personally got a big blow on that one. I see adults, but especially babies and mothers, they do have an influence on my life. Like I don't want maternal and child health to go up the way it is right now.
Maternal and infant health remains a top priority in her life as a nurse. It's also a serious concern in rural areas of Papua New Guinea where the deaths of children are very common. Even in urban centres like Lae, babies still die of preventable illnesses.
If I were to do any further studies, whatever, I would choose maternal and child health in PNG because babies are vulnerable to diseases right now.
Scott Waide, National MTV News, Lae.
More than 60,000 members of the Baha'i faith in the 101 communities in PNG will celebrate the bicentennial birth of Bahula, the founder of Baha'i faith, on October the 22nd this year. Children attending Baha'i classes in Lae gathered today to prepare for this event. Julie Badwi Owa with this report.
These children came from suburbs in Lae City to demonstrate what they were taught in the Baha'i faith to prepare for the 200th anniversary of the birth of Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith.
Intone, O my servant, the verses of God that have been received by thee, as intoned by them who have drawn nigh unto him, that the sweetness of thy melody may kindle thine own soul and attract the hearts of all men.
Baha'i children classes are spiritual education taught to the children from ages 5 to 11 years old. The children, together with the teachers, presented few of the activities today.
It's very important for the children because it helps them to develop their capacity.
The event will be celebrated on 21st to 22nd October this year. Baha'u'llah was born on 12 November 1817 in Iran and is believed to be the latest in the series of divine messengers who founded the world religions as part of the progressive revelation of God's guidance to humanity.
This leads to a very big event that's coming up in the Baha'i world, across the nation and across the world, and it's called the Baha'i Bicentenary.
Baha'u'llah envisioned a united global society founded on justice and productive peace, and that all people are equal members of one human family.
O Lord, I am a child, enable me to grow, be not the shade of thy loving kindness. I am a tender plant, cause me to be nature, to the house of the clouds of the mountain. I am a tender plant, cause me to be nature.
Julie Badwi Owa, National MTV News, Lae.
With donations coming in from concerned government organizations, business houses and individuals, funds have risen from 100,000 to now more than 400,000 kina. A victim of the Hanobada fire expresses his gratitude towards the level of support they have been receiving. However, they are yet to get assistance from authorities to address disaster risk management.
I know I had a lot of assets that were valued so much, but at the moment, those are all gone and I'm not worrying about them. Whatever happens will be a new start for me. And with the generous support coming from the general public and the government of Papua New Guinea, I'd like to say thank you very much.
Our target is 2.5 million kina, so we're still a long way off from that. And because you know we need to build 18 houses from bottom up, and there are 24 houses which are partly damaged, but are severely damaged. So we really need the public to continue to support us. As I said, we're very thankful to the Prime Minister for the very kind gesture of giving us 250,000 kina.
We haven't had anyone come in to be able to talk about disaster management, whether it's a fire or a tsunami or whatever else it may be. So the current community have actually looked at that, and during the rehabilitation we'll be also asking for example, World Vision or Red Cross to come in and talk about how we can, and also National Disaster Centre people to be able to come in and train us and do certain little workshops or training on how we can be able to mobilize ourselves.
Housing and Urbanization Minister John Cowper says PNG has more challenges in developing its urban communities. Mr. Kaupa said urban drift has had significant impact on how towns and cities are planned. But Kaupa said government agencies are keen to make proper assessments and develop better urban plans for all provinces in PNG.
In his first appearance with his department since being appointed as the Housing and Urbanization Minister, Mr. Kaupa says he is aware of the challenges faced in most urban areas. Minister Kaupa said one of the factors making it hard for the agency to implement its policies is urban drift.
As you can see in the city, a lot of people from rural areas migrating into the city. And how are we going to tackle this one? We need to provide affordable houses. Before we do that, urbanization is a big global word.
In most urban areas throughout the country, there is no proper planning on both state and customary land. People have encroached onto these lands and it has been an issue. Minister Kaupa says Lands, NHC and other agencies will be on the same page to fix this mess and get things in order.
Population increase, you expect a lot of things. Unhygienic, law and order problem. There's so many things. So as a minister responsible, I would like to work with all the stakeholders. I think I got it at the back of me. You can see very experienced from each department, stakeholders who join hands to work together in the city as a pilot project, and we will move to outside provinces.
Despite attempts by past governments, the Housing and Urbanization Minister said the department aims to establish better plans for better homes for all who settle in urban areas.
Urbanization and physical planning must go first, so that we got sewage, we got water, we got power, we got road must be seen to be going on the correct path, and housing must be also placed on the way it's supposed to be.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Minister Kaupa has stopped progress work on the Duran housing project outside Port Moresby. He said the project has many issues with its planning. Mr. Kaupa says an inquiry will be established into the project.
Anybody who build a house must know exactly where they put a house, and that would be convenient. Like now, you see, we got a contractor from a foreign contractor who is building 40 houses. But some of them already, the houses already enclosed into the road access. So that's why I see that there is no proper planning. So I put a total stop onto that one.
A dividend of 60 million kina was presented to government by the National Fisheries Authority yesterday. Fisheries and Marine Resource Minister Patrick Bassa presented the dividend to Treasury Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel. Minister Bassa said the dividend was sourced mainly from its revenue collection through fees collected within the fishing sector. According to NFA records, the authority has paid a total of 396.25 million to the national government since 2001.
NFA has been paying dividends to the national government with 5 million paid in 2012, 55 million kina in 2013 and 2014 respectively, and 75 million kina in 2015 and 41 million kina in 2016. Today we are here to make a payment of 60 million to the national government. As the incoming minister responsible for fisheries and marine resource, I wish to inform the national government on the contribution of the fisheries sector in overall growth of this economy.
Here with National EMTV News, stories making headlines overseas when we return. Don't go away. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, and Hurricane Harvey has made landfall in Texas, with experts warning the southern U.S. state could be uninhabitable for months. The most powerful storm to hit the U.S. in decades made landfall near Corpus Christi. It's expected to move slowly north and linger in Houston.
Harvey is smashing into the Gulf Coast tonight, packing ferocious wind, an ocean of water, and officials say deadly potential.
Back up, back up, back up, back up.
Pushing a mountain of water before it, that storm surge plowing into Padre Island. Winds stripping bark from trees in Port O'Connor.
About 11:30 here, and the wind is really picking up. The rain coming down hard, pelting you. It feels like they're little needles pounding your eyes at this point. And the hurricane is still probably 100 miles out.
And this massive storm is still intensifying. Texas's governor activating 1,300 National Guard troops, opening enough shelters to house 41,000 evacuees.
We can obviously tell already at this stage, this is going to be a very major disaster.
Officials in Rockport warning staying could mean dying.
Those that are going to stay, it's unfortunate, but they should make some type of preparation to mark their arm with a Sharpie pen, put their Social Security number on it.
Hurricane hunters tracking wind speeds near the eye, topping 130 miles per hour. The storm, a major hurricane. 10 million people now under watches and warnings, but landfall is only the beginning. Some spots expected to get a 12-foot storm surge and nearly 3 feet of rain. It's the kind of deluge that Danielle and William Weeks hoped to flee.
And what about your home?
We actually live in an RV, so we unfortunately had to leave it on the island. So we're pretty worried that we won't have a home to go back to.
They could only get as far as Corpus Christi because Danielle is due for a C-section here on Tuesday. Tens of thousands of Texas residents ordered to flee, but some, like Janice Moore, staying behind, believing her home is stronger than Harvey.
I feel like most residents do need to leave because they don't know what they're doing, but I feel like I do know what I'm doing.
Harvey is expected to sit over the Gulf Coast, pummeling it for days, with effects felt for hundreds of miles.
Closer to home, New Zealand's SAS troops are being withdrawn from Tonga following the King's decision to disband the government. King Tupou VI yesterday dissolved the government and ordered the election be brought forward a year.
Tonga's turbulent political situation is the talk of the town, but on the streets it's business as usual. 20 of our soldiers there on a jungle training exercise now cut short. Now they're coming home.
It's just a long-term perception is the thing that we want to avoid, any suggestion that New Zealand's got any influence in the democratic process in Tonga.
That democratic process put to the test in the last 24 hours. For the first time in Tonga's history, the King using his constitutional powers to put an early end to the current government. King Tupou has not given a reason for this, but the government has been widely criticised as being ineffective and corrupt.
His Majesty has not interfered at all with government running. There's no dictator stepping in here. There's no coup here. This is simply bringing the elections forward 8 weeks away from now. They're having the elections again.
It's hoped this will temper any trouble. In 2006, New Zealand sent in troops after rioting.
I think actually New Zealand and Australia they've got a part to play in this to make sure that peace is maintained and that whatever happens, that there's peaceful dialogue to try and resolve, the issues obviously that is facing the country.
We have a big role in the security of the Pacific. There's no question about that. We'll just see what happens. But I don't think we're in a situation where it's necessary for us to do any more than we are, which is making officials available to assist if they need it.
That election must be held before November the 16th. Until then, the current Prime Minister and his cabinet will continue in a caretaker role. It will be up to the people to decide whether they'll have a future running the country.
Riots in northern India have left 29 people dead as outraged followers of a popular spiritual guru protested his rape conviction. The spiritual leader, who claims to have millions of devotees, was found guilty of raping 2 women in 2002.
Violence broke out as soon as the guilty verdict was handed out by the court in North India. More than 100,000 of Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh's followers had flocked to the town to demonstrate their support. They went on the rampage, burning cars and attacking the police, who responded with tear gas and water cannons. When that didn't subdue the crowd, they fired live ammunition. And there have been clashes elsewhere too. Guru Ram Rahim is a charismatic figure. He makes movies calling himself the messenger of God. His huge beard and flamboyant style has led to him being called the Baba of Bling. But despite his sometimes extraordinary appearance, he is regarded as a living saint by many of his followers. This is the latest in a series of scandals here in India involving ascetics who claim exceptional spiritual powers. Guru Ram Rahim insists his sect is a social welfare and spiritual group. But these two rape convictions aren't the only allegations of criminal behaviour. He has been accused of helping plan a murder, and it is also claimed he persuaded 400 of his acolytes to have themselves castrated in order to get closer to God. It is that kind of devotion that explains the scale and intensity of the violence here in North India, and also why the authorities are so concerned about its spreading.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is up next. Among the stories, we preview the fight of the year between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says building and supporting sporting facilities remain a priority for government. Prime Minister O'Neill says more improvement are expected in this term of government. He also announced the government's undivided support in hosting the 7th PNG Games in West New Britain.
Speaking yesterday after the swearing-in of 9 vice ministers in the O'Neill-able government, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill reiterated government support to improve sporting facilities in the country. Mr. O'Neill allowed criticisms over the funds used to build facilities but says it's a huge improvement for the sporting fraternity.
Many of you care to remember how the PRL used to be, now the National Sporting Stadium, how the Business Parade facilities were before we took over as government, how the Tarama swimming pool was before we took over as government, and of course there's a John Guy Stadium. So all these facilities were done under our watch. So I don't think people should be concerned that we are just going to walk away from all these things.
The Sports Ministry and APEC is under the care of Mr. O'Neill. Kagwa Erave MP Wesley Raminai will be assisting the Prime Minister. Mr. O'Neill says there is more determination in supporting sports.
We came with a lot of determination to try and fix the rundown infrastructure and sporting facilities right throughout the country.
With the 7th PNG Games coming up in West New Britain, the minister responsible says consultations with the organizing committee will continue so the event goes ahead.
We are going to assist West New Britain in ensuring that they host the games, and we will be meeting with the good governor and his team over the course of next week and set an actual date for us to publish so that we will go ahead with the hosting of the games in Kimbe.
The 7th PNG Games has already been rescheduled twice. Jack Lopave Jr. National EMTV Sports.
To Rugby League, the PNG Hunters have been denied a televised match for Week 2 of the Interest Super Cup finals after the cost proved too much for the club to bear. The QRL confirmed they would look to give the Channel 9 slot for Finals Week 2 to the sides playing in the knockout fixture over PNG. The Hunters, who secured the minor premiership last week, will have a bye in Week 1 before hosting the second-place team in Week 2. But QRL's manager of major competitions, Dave Maiden, said they would look to play the PNG game at 3 p.m. on Sunday, September the 10th, instead of live on Channel 9 at 1:30 p.m. Still on the Hunters, Captain Asebos aims to finish this season on 200 points. He is currently on 194 and is 24 points behind leading top point scorer Carlin Anderson of the Townsville Blackhawks on 218. They play the Tweedhead Seagulls tomorrow and hope to reach the 200th mark by then. He says it would be a big achievement for him personally.
This game, I move up to the second spot now, so I've been, discussing with the boys if we play this last game, every opportunity that if you go to score, they try to hold the ball to me and I score. I score, so at least I got 24 points or 25 and, go ahead of him. But yeah, it's like, I don't even mind if I finish second, so long as, I contribute to the team and stuff like that. So it's one game, and if you get the first spot, that's okay with me. At least I finish second, and it will be an achievement for me to finish second also. So my aim is to finish with the 200 points, at least my goal for this season. So yeah, that's all.
And to boxing, despite speculation he was too big, UFC star Conor McGregor has made weight ahead of tomorrow's mega money bout against undefeated boxer Floyd Mayweather. The two fighters had their last face-off in Los Angeles.
And there wasn't really a lot in it.
153, 149 and a half.
Although that's expected to change dramatically over the next 24 hours.
What will you come into the ring weighing tomorrow night? Do you have an idea?
A lot bigger than him.
170?
I'd say close to 170, yes.
If Conor McGregor's prediction of moving up to 170 pounds by tomorrow night is correct, that means he'll fight at roughly 10 kilograms heavier than Floyd Money Mayweather.
Weight doesn't win fights. Fighting wins fights.
That extra weight should translate to power. That's if McGregor can get anywhere near the man who's never lost a single professional bout, many by dancing around the ring.
It won't go the distance. Mark my word.
He looks like dog. You know that. He looks blown out, full of water.
In what continues to be more of a circus than an actual boxing match, 20,000 fight fans turned up to Las Vegas's T-Mobile Arena this morning to simply watch two men stand on a scale and speak for about a minute each. The peculiar thing is, while tomorrow night's fight is expected to be watched by around 50 million Americans alone, the 20,000-seat stadium is yet to sell out, despite ticket prices being slashed, the cheapest, now a mere $1,500.
The fans can't fight for you.
The stage is set, we just don't know yet really what for.
I see a man afraid. That's it. We'll see tomorrow.
And you can watch the fight exclusive and live on EMTV with coverage starting from 9 a.m. tomorrow morning with the main event at 11. Don't go anywhere. Trukai Sports continues with some NRL news and Women's Rugby World Cup. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby Union, and Capital Rugby Union concluded its final playoff today at the spiritual home of Rugby Union, the Bava Park in Port Moresby. Among the highlights, a late comeback from Nova to win 27-22 over Harlequins in the women's final.
Bava Park in Port Moresby came alive with the rugby finals today. In the B-grade division, Nova and Wanderers challenged for the premiership with much to show for. Nova had an early lead and kept the momentum rolling, outstretching Wanderers' defense before punching through the middle with some amazing tries. At the final whistle, it was Nova with the podium finish of 19-10 victory over Wanderers. In the women's final, hot favourites Harlequins rubbed shoulders with Nova, who went into the final as the underdogs. Boasting speed and quick offloads in their forward pack, Nova were on the board 10 minutes in. With gritted teeth and relentless counterattack from Harlequins, the game swayed back and forth as both teams crossed over the line on occasions. The game intensified in the second half, and with minutes to full-time, Harlequins, living up to their name, forced the match into extra time, tying the game at 22-all. Then it was Melissa Mingo with the corner try that proved to be the winner, sending Nova to a 27-22 victory over Harlequins. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And still on rugby, the main game in the Premier Division saw a close encounter between University Piggies and Krema Osenko brothers. Brothers led throughout the first half, but in the second half, the Piggies regrouped and tied the match at 17-all. And then the winner came just 5 minutes before time, with the defending champions, University Piggies, winning 25-17. So congratulations to the boys in blue. To rugby union abroad, and the most fierce rivalry in women's rugby is between the Black Ferns and England. Another chapter of that is hours away, where New Zealand faces defending champions England in the World Cup final in Belfast. The Ferns are hunting a 5th World Cup crown.
Smiles in the Black Ferns hours before trying to add to their own history. But mention their opposition for the final and things get serious.
We respect them as rugby players. I guess same as goes for any team. Once we cross that chalk, they've got something we want and we're going to go and take it from them.
It's understood there's a real dislike between the sides, built up over the past decade as England's strengthened its women's game. Since New Zealand's win over England in the 2010 World Cup final, the teams have met 12 times, England winning 6 of them, the Black Ferns 5 and 1 draw.
We're in a lot better shape right now. I know we've recovered well and I know the excitement level's high.
The most recent meeting, a tight win to England in Rotorua in June. The visiting Fords pushing their team to a come-from-behind victory. That result, a lesson for the Kiwis.
Yeah, we have looked at that and we've worked really hard on trying to fix everything that didn't quite go our way.
But New Zealand's found some blockbusting try-scoring form. Portia Woodman leading the way with a 13-try effort this tournament. The other 14 players on the park, essential for ensuring Woodman can deliver again.
She also realises that a lot of people need to do work prior to her getting her opportunities, and we know that if we can get her the ball when there is space, you know, she's devastating.
History beckoning for New Zealand with kick-off at 6:45 tomorrow morning.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. When we come back, your weather report for Sunday.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for Sunday in the southern region. Fine and sunny for Port Moresby and Daru. Fine becoming cloudy for Kerma and Alotau. Mostly fine for Papandeta. To the Momasa region, fine becoming cloudy for Leh, fine weather in Wau, fine although windy for Madang, a few showers in Wewak, thundery rain expected in Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine for Buka, Lorengau and Kavieng, rain and showers for Kokopo and Rabaul, thundery rain in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabig, all these major centres can expect fine weather becoming cloudy later on.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, worth doing with Dulux.
Before we go, a recap of our main stories tonight. Australia summoned on Manus Centre closure date. Aviation Minister targets high airfares, and Repentance Day observed by inmates at Bomana. And that has been the news, sports and weather this Saturday, the 26th of August 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.